Welcome to Nebula Narratives, your gateway to immersive science fiction audiobooks. If you love epic journeys, alien worlds, and thrilling futures, you're in the right place. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the adventure. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories beyond the stars. They set out to explore a new galaxy. Now they're fighting to survive in a forgotten war. In the 27th century, humanity's most advanced fleet, led by the flagship Pathfinder, launches from the edge of the Milky Way, bound for a new frontier. But a catastrophic event hurls them across space and time, into a galaxy ruled by ancient technologies, shattered empires, and silent threats that were never meant to be awakened. As they search for a way home, the crew must unravel cosmic mysteries, forge uneasy alliances, and confront echoes of a war that never ended. Skyfall Elite, Erebus Station. The vastness of space outside Erebus Station shimmered with cold beauty. Suspended at the outer edge of the Milky Way like a sentry at a forgotten frontier, the station stood as humanity's last monument before the void. A ring of solar arrays and comm spires formed its crown, rotating slowly against the Black Sea beyond. Through reinforced observation windows, stars bled light across the hull like distant memories. Inside, the air vibrated with anticipation. Captain Elias Thorne stood at the edge of the command deck, eyes fixed on the launch bay below. Through the translucent floor panels, he could see the ISS Pathfinder, sleek and powerful, docked in its mooring cradle. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, the culmination of a century of spacefaring progress. It had never flown before. Neither had the others in the Starline fleet. Today they would leap into the unknown. Thorne's reflection stared back at him from the glass. High cheekbones, grizzled stubble, and eyes hardened by years of decisions few would envy. A dark blue command jacket hugged his lean frame, adorned with the Pathfinder insignia, a silver arc over a star field, wrapped by the words, "For Earth, toward infinity." A voice cut through his thoughts. "Launch Control is requesting a systems confirmation, sir." Thorne turned to see Commander Kayla Wynn, Pathfinder's science officer. She stood with her tablet cradled in one arm, short-cut hair framing sharp, analytical eyes. She was 32, brilliant and unnervingly precise. It was why he trusted her more than most. "They'll have it in 60 seconds, Thorne said. Kayla nodded, then hesitated. "You haven't spoken to them yet." He raised an eyebrow. "The press conference?" "The crew," he sighed. "Right." Below, the Pathfinder shimmered under bay lights. Rows of magnetic clamps held its hull steady as technicians scurried like ants across gantries, performing final checks. Somewhere inside, his crew, Dax Rourke, the chief engineer, Elena Voss, the pilot, and more than 40 others were preparing to leave everything they knew behind. He turned and headed for the lift. Kayla followed. The main briefing room aboard the Pathfinder had been repurposed as a temporary staging area. Gear cases, data crates, and coffee thermoses cluttered the walls. The crew sat at attention, not because they had to, but because the gravity of the moment demanded it. Thorne entered with Kayla at his side. Conversations halted. Even Dax Rourke stopped mid-joke, one boot propped on a crate, goggles pushed up into his mop of dark curls. "Captain on deck," Elena called, offering a half-salute from the back. "At ease," Thorne said, waving it off. "We're not on mission yet." He took center stage, glancing around. Faces stared back, some tense, some calm, some quietly terrified. Dr. Hensley, the xenobiologist, clutched her notebook tightly. Lieutenant Shin, the communications officer, sat stone-faced beside her. Each person here had trained for this, endured a brutal selection process, and still looked like they could bolt at any moment. Thorne cleared his throat. 2 years ago, when Earth Command approved the Starline Initiative, they said it would define the next era of human history. They said it would be the first step beyond the spiral arm. But none of that matters unless we take this step, today. He paused, letting silence settle over them. We don't know what we'll find in Andros. We don't know if the Wormgate mapping is accurate. Hell, we don't even know if these ships can survive a Galaxy-class jump. What we do know is that we've trained harder, studied longer, and prepared more thoroughly than any crew before us. He looked at each of them, holding their gaze one by one. "I'm proud to serve with you. Whatever's out there, we'll face it together." Dax clapped once, Then more joined. The room filled with cautious, genuine applause. "All right," Thorne said, almost smiling. "Let's go make history." As the countdown reached T-minus 30 minutes, the senior staff gathered on the Pathfinder bridge. Massive, curved viewports offered a breathtaking panorama of Erebus Station's rotating arc. The other two ships in the fleet, ISS Horizon and ISS Ardent, drifted nearby, dark triangles against the stars. Their hulls gleamed under station lights. Status pings lit up Thorne's console. All systems nominal, flight paths synchronized. "Final telemetry sync with Ardent complete," Shin reported. "Horizon is 2 seconds ahead of cycle. Adjusting now." "Good," Thorne replied. "Keep it tight." Dax stood at the engineering station, mumbling to himself. "Jump drive interlocks are green, cooling reservoir full. I think it'll hold." "Think?" Elena asked, cocking an eyebrow from the pilot's chair. "I like to keep you guessing." Dax grinned. Kayla sat across from them, eyes on her sensor readouts. No anomalies in the subspace array. Thorne tapped the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for departure. Final checks, 10-minute lock-in. Let's show the stars what we're made of." Outside the station, drones disengaged docking clamps and retracted the last tethers. From a civilian viewing deck on Erebus, hundreds of guests watched in awe. Holographic banners rippled across the glass. Starline, Humanity's Leap, accompanied by the Pathfinder logo and mission timer. Reporters live-streamed commentaries. Children pressed their palms to the glass. Some wept. Back aboard the Pathfinder, time slowed. "Thrusters at 100%, Elena announced. "Reactor stable. Jump coordinates confirmed." "Begin countdown," Thorne said. On screen, a massive holographic interface lit up with synchronized numbers. 10, 9, 8. Kayla's voice was steady. "Subspace tunnel projection holding. Horizon and Ardent in sync. 7, 6. Dax muttered under his breath. "Come on, baby, don't explode." 5, 4. Thorne rested a hand on the arm of his command chair. "This is it. 3, 2, 1. The stars outside stretched. Light bent, space shivered, and the Pathfinder vanished into hyperspace. The bridge lights flickered for half a second, then steadied. "Jump successful," Elena said. "We're in the tunnel." All around them, hyperspace warped reality. Glowing streams of particle light twisted beyond the viewport, folding like ribbons through a dark void. Space folded and unfolded at once. Sensors registered nothing but turbulence and quantum noise. Even time felt sluggish. Kayla checked her console. "Jump tunnel stable. Duration 16 minutes. Thorne leaned back. "Good work, everyone." For the first time in hours, the tension cracked. Smiles, quiet laughter. Dax swiveled in his chair with a whoop. "Humanity just left the galaxy," he shouted. "Drink coupons for everyone when we get back." "You mean if," Shin muttered. Kayla looked up, her face suddenly tense. "Sir, I'm seeing something odd." Thorne snapped to attention. "Talk to me." "In the field ahead. Not a ship, not debris, a pattern in the gravitational matrix, like an echo." Dax frowned. "Could be residual wavefronts from the worm gate." "No," Kayla said, fingers dancing across the display. "It's reflecting us, as if the space ahead is mimicking our own field signature. That's not supposed to happen." Thorne stood. "Mark it. Save the telemetry." "We already passed it," Elena said quietly. "Whatever it was, we're through it now." Silence returned. The hum of the jump drive grew louder in their ears. Thorne's instincts tingled, that old soldier's gut. Something was out there. Watching. Chapter 2. Launch Sequence. The hyperspace corridor bent around the Pathfinder like an ocean current, luminous, silent, and alien in every direction. Threads of energy streamed past the hull, some glowing violet, others a dull red like fading embers. It was both beautiful and unnerving, a reminder that this space was not meant for humans. "Time to tunnel exit?" Captain Thorne asked from the command chair. Kayla Wynne glanced at her console. 2 minutes. All 3 ships still synced and stable. "Reactor status?" Thorne turned to Dax, who looked up from the glowing mass of data swirling across his screen. "Steady," Dax replied. "The new gravitic buffer is doing its job, holding us together through the jump like duct tape on a warhead." "Great," muttered Elena Voss, fingers poised on the flight controls. "Let's hope it doesn't explode when we come out." Thorne leaned forward, eyes narrowed on the view screen. "Let's make sure it doesn't." A brief, familiar silence followed, the kind that always came just before emergence. A moment of shared uncertainty. This was uncharted territory. No ship had ever exited hyperspace beyond the galaxy before. "Here we go," Kayla said. "Exit point, now." With a sudden burst of light, the world snapped back into real space. Stars flared into view, unfamiliar, jagged constellations against an eerie red and purple galactic backdrop. The space beyond was dense with interstellar dust and charged particles, unlike anything their sensors had predicted. For a moment, the crew sat speechless. Then the comms crackled. "Pathfinder, this is ISS Ardent. Jump successful. All systems green." Lieutenant Shin tapped his earpiece. "Confirmation from both Ardent and Horizon, Captain. We're the first fleet in human history to reach the Andaros sector." Applause broke out across the bridge. Thorne allowed himself a small smile. "Mark the time. Humanity just crossed into a new galaxy." "Transmitting log data to Erebus," Shin added, fingers flying over the console. "They'll want to know we made it." But Kayla's screen flickered. "Hold on. Transmission's not stabilizing. Comms relay is dropping." "Try again," Thorne said. "I'm trying. The signal's getting distorted." "Could be spatial interference," Dax offered. "Jump turbulence leaves residual echoes for hours." Thorne frowned. "Keep the logs local for now. We'll rebroadcast once we stabilize orbit." "Orbit?" Elena asked. "Orbit where?" The three ships drifted near a Class G star, stable but unremarkable. Around it rotated 5 planets, 2 gas giants and a smattering of moons. A yellow-hued terrestrial world sat in the third orbital lane. "Looks promising," Kayla said. "Atmosphere is oxygen, nitrogen. Moderate radiation from the star, but livable with shielding." Thorne stood. "Set course for planetary orbit. Let's get a better look." As the ships reoriented, something pinged on Kayla's console. "Wait, that's odd." "What now?" Thorne asked. "Sensor ghosts. Faint distortions near the 4th planet. Could be debris. Or," Dax interrupted, "or it could be another spatial echo like the one we passed through during the jump." "Could they be connected?" Elena asked. Kayla didn't answer right away. She stared at her readings. "Possibly. But if these are naturally occurring, we've underestimated the gravitational complexity of this region." "Flag it," Thorne said. "We'll investigate after planetary scan." The Pathfinder slid smoothly into a high-altitude orbit above the yellow planet. Massive, swirling storm systems covered the southern hemisphere, while the northern landmasses sparkled with river networks and bioluminescent plant growth visible even from orbit. "No cities, no signals," Kayla confirmed. "But there's life, lots of it." "Pre-industrial?" Thorne asked. Kayla shook her head. "No signs of civilization. It's pure wilderness." "Potential landing site?" Elena asked. 3, maybe 4 stable plateaus, one of them near a freshwater lake, could be ideal for a temporary base. Thorne turned toward Shin. "Prepare a message for the fleet. I want landing teams assembled." "Yes, sir, and get me a channel to the Ardent and Horizon." A moment later, both captains, Commander Rhea Navin of the Ardent and Captain Jonas Merrick of the Horizon, appeared on the main screen via holographic relay. Both looked travel-worn but alert. "We've reached orbit," Thorne said. "Planet 3 appears safe for short-term habitation. Recommend initial deployment of ground teams for atmospheric tests and site mapping." "Agreed," Rhea replied. "We'll send support drones. Keep it tight. We don't know this place." Jonas nodded. "We'll maintain high orbit and cover your descent." "Copy that," Thorne replied. "Pathfinder out." Back in the launch bay, Dax worked quickly to ready the planetary shuttle, Falcon 1. The sleek craft had dual-function landing gear, atmospheric sampling drones, and an armored hull capable of withstanding minor turbulence. It hadn't been used since training simulations. "It's going to fly like a brick wrapped in silk," he said, patting the hull. "But she'll get you down." Elena rolled her eyes. "You're full of confidence today." Kayla strapped herself into the copilot seat. "Just don't crash it." Dax winked. "If we crash, we'll die beautifully." From the bridge, Thorne's voice came over comms. "Pathfinder to Falcon 1. Proceed to drop coordinates. We'll monitor you all the way." Elena's fingers danced across the controls. "Roger that. Launching now." The shuttle detached from its cradle and began its descent into the atmosphere. The ride was rough. Crimson clouds roiled as the Falcon 1 pierced the upper stratosphere. Lightning arced between the cloud banks, but the ship's shields held firm. Below, the terrain opened like a golden scar, massive canyons and shimmering lakes crisscrossed by glowing blue vegetation. "Wow," Kayla whispered. Even Elena was silent, awed by the surreal beauty of the world below. "Looks like a dream." "Landing zone ahead," Kayla confirmed. Flat ridge, 2 clicks east of the lake. Taking us in. Elena said. The Falcon 1 banked hard, then settled with a gentle hiss on the ridge. Dust plumed around them. Seconds later, the landing gear locked into place. Kayla checked her readings. Atmosphere breathable. Local microbes detected, but no immediate biohazards. Opening hatch, Elena said. Warm air rushed into the cabin. It smelled faintly metallic, like rain after lightning. Kayla stepped out first, boots crunching on the soil. Recording, she said. Scanning with her portable sensor. No EM signals. Plant life is photosynthetic, likely bioluminescent at night. Gravity 0.92 grams, comfortable. Elena joined her. Still no signs of civilization. Kayla turned toward a strange rock formation nearby, etched with jagged spiral grooves. Maybe there never was one. Back on the Pathfinder, Thorne watched the telemetry feed. Keep them on a short leash, he said. No wander-offs. If anything pings abnormal, I want them recalled. Understood, Shin replied. A new blip appeared on the long-range scanners. Thorne frowned. What's that? Kayla's voice came through the comm. Sir, you're going to want to see this. On screen, her camera feed panned to the spiral-carved rock. In the center of the spiral was a faint blue glow. It pulsed slowly, rhythmically. Elena's voice came next. Captain, that pattern? It's the same structure as the distortion we passed in hyperspace. Thorne stood frozen. Dax said what everyone was thinking. What the hell is this place? Thorne stared at the glowing spiral, unease settling into his chest like ice. Whatever this world was, it was no random stop. It was waiting. Chapter 3. Spatial Echo. The spiral glowed softly under Kayla Wynn's scanner, its light ebbing like a heartbeat embedded in stone. The formation looked ancient, not carved but grown, as though the rock itself had risen in a fractal pattern from within. She ran her hand a few centimeters above the surface. It pulsed again, gently, in perfect sync with the readings on her handheld device. Elena stood behind her, silent. The wilderness around them had gone eerily still. It's matching the signature from the rift, Kayla said finally. The one from hyperspace? Elena asked. Kayla nodded. Same energy wavelength, same pulse frequency. Something out here is mimicking subspace harmonics. Elena exhaled. So this rock is what? A hyperspace antenna? Kayla didn't answer. Aboard the Pathfinder, Captain Thorne leaned over the console on the bridge. Kayla's live feed showed the spiral in sharp detail now. The pulsing light had begun to spread. Faint tendrils of energy tracing delicate veins across the surface of the ridge like glowing roots. That's not natural, Thorne said. No, sir. Kayla's voice came through comms. We've isolated the signal. It's broadcasting on a frequency below the Planck threshold. That's not something nature does. Lieutenant Shin glanced up from his station. The Dominion used quantum resonance signals for stealth communications. This could be related. Could be, Thorne muttered. Or it could be something older. The crew watched in silence as Kayla and Elena backed away from the formation. The glow dimmed again, returning to a quiet pulse. Falcon 1, Thorne said, I want you airborne immediately. Bring that data back now. Kayla hesitated. Understood, Captain. We're returning. Inside the shuttle, the tension was thick. Elena powered the engines while Kayla sealed the scanner module in a radiation-safe case. I don't like this, Elena said quietly. That planet's too quiet, too set up. Kayla glanced at her. You think it's a trap? I think it's a warning. Falcon 1 lifted off, breaking through the atmosphere with a roar. Kayla didn't look back at the ridge. She didn't need to. That spiral had burned itself into her memory, and the energy signature was still echoing in her mind like a bell that refused to stop ringing. 3 hours later, back aboard the Pathfinder, the science team convened in Lab Deck 3. The spiral formation had been reconstructed as a 3D projection in the center of the room. Engineers, physicists, and xenolinguists hovered around it like moths to flame. Kayla led the briefing. It's not just decorative, she said. The formation acts like a resonator. When activated, by our proximity, we think, it emits a low-frequency energy pattern consistent with known hyperspace waveforms. What does that mean for us? Asked Dr. Hensley, arms crossed. Kayla zoomed in on the center spiral. It means someone, or something, wanted to mark this place in space-time. Think of it as a breadcrumb, an anchor. An anchor to what? Thorne asked. Kayla hesitated to wherever that spatial echo led. Thorne's eyes narrowed. You're saying the distortion we passed in hyperspace wasn't random? No, sir. I think it was deliberate. The room fell silent. Then Dax spoke. So we're not just in the middle of nowhere. We're exactly where something wanted us to be. Exactly, Kayla said. Across the fleet, news of the discovery spread fast. On board the Horizon, Captain Merrick's crew debated theories. Alien warning systems, navigation beacons, wormgate remnants. Aboard the Ardent, Commander Navin quietly ordered scans of the other planets in the system. If there were more spirals, they hadn't surfaced yet. But it wasn't until 6 hours later that things truly changed. Captain, Shin called from the Pathfinder bridge, I've got something new on the long-range sensor grid. Thorne stepped closer. Another signal? Not exactly. It's feedback. A low-frequency echo rebounding off our previous jump path, like something is pinging us. Kayla arrived seconds later. You said echo? Shin nodded. It's repeating in 10-minute intervals, always the same frequency, always from the same origin point, the rift we entered through. Dax stepped into the room. Dax rubbing his temple. If I didn't know better, I'd say something's still watching us. Or following, Kayla said. Thorne turned to her. Is it the Dominion? Kayla shook her head. Their tech doesn't match this signal. This is cleaner, older. Elena's voice came over comms from the hangar deck. Captain, you should see this. We've got microfractures on the Falcon's hull. Localized heat distortion, not from atmospheric entry. Damage from the spiral, Thorne asked. More like it was scanned, or read. Thorne looked at Kayla. Tell me what you're thinking. Kayla took a breath. I think the spatial echo we passed in hyperspace was a gate, and the spiral on the planet was the other side. Someone, or something, used us to open it. Thorne stiffened. Used us for what? Kayla didn't blink, to see if we were worth tracking. That night, Thorne stood alone in Observation Deck 1, staring into the stars. No Earth, no familiar constellations, only the strange shimmer of a galaxy untouched by human history. The Pathfinder hung silently in orbit, flanked by its sister ships, 3 silver ghosts in the dark. He thought of the spiral, the echo, the way the ship had jolted ever so slightly during the jump, and the fact that nothing they'd encountered yet had made any effort to stop them, as if they were being allowed in. Footsteps approached behind him. Kayla. You couldn't sleep either, she said softly. Thorne didn't turn. I don't like mysteries with blinking lights. Kayla smiled faintly. We're scientists. Blinking lights are our favorite kind. Not when they scan my ship and ping my jump path. She grew quiet. He finally turned to face her. Give me something, Kayla. Anything. She hesitated, then handed him a small data slate. Overlay of the spiral's energy signature and the jump distortion field. I think they're parts of the same system. A guidance network. For what? Kayla's voice was low. For a civilization that doesn't want to be found but wants to know who's looking. Thorne set the slate down, expression unreadable. Then we just knocked on the door, he said. Kayla nodded. And someone might be coming. Chapter 4, Rift Pulse. The bridge of the ISS Pathfinder was quiet. Too quiet for a ship orbiting an alien planet in a galaxy no human had ever visited. The spiral signal on the planet's surface had faded to darkness, but the data it left behind was still alive in the system. For Captain Elias Thorne, the silence wasn't peace, it was a warning before the storm. Captain, Kayla said from the science station, the echo's pulse frequency is changing. Thorne turned toward her. Changing how? It's accelerating. Not in strength, but in rhythm, like a beacon responding to a proximity trigger. Dax Rourke chimed in from the engineering console, his voice tense. If that thing's tied to our jump field, it might be charging something. Elena Voss, now back in her pilot's chair, glanced at the sensor logs, or waking something. Thorne crossed the bridge and stood behind Kayla. On her screen, the waveform from the earlier distortion, the one they passed in hyperspace, was growing sharper. It's forming a new pattern, she said, a repeating loop, like it's trying to align with us. Align for what? Thorne asked. Kayla stared at the screen. A pulse. The moment she said it, the entire ship shook. The tremor lasted only seconds, but it was enough to throw the crew into motion. Status report, Thorne barked. Subspace interference, Kayla replied. That wasn't an impact. It came from within the hyperspace field around the ship. Shin's fingers danced across his console. Sir, it wasn't just us. Ardent and Horizon are reporting the same disturbance. Show me, Thorne said. A visual feed from the ISS Ardent flickered onto the main screen. Commander Rhea Navan's face looked tense, her jaw clenched. We felt it too, she said. Internal systems briefly spiked. Jump core readings went off the chart. Something tried to activate. Kayla was already analyzing the data. All 3 ships have identical logs. A gravitational spike emerged from local subspace, then rebounded across the entire fleet. Like a sonar ping, Elena murmured, except from hyperspace. Or through it, Keeler corrected. Thorne's voice cut through the chatter. Anything on the long-range sensors? Shin shook his head. Still nothing physical. No ships, no objects, just that growing interference field. Whatever this is, it's not coming from this galaxy. 2 hours later, the senior staff gathered in Pathfinder's briefing room. The room's central hologram flickered with layered models, one of the hyperspace anomaly, one of the spiral formation, and one of the fleet's current position relative to both. We're not in control of our location, Kayla began. The spiral formation was not just a marker, it was a tuning device. It latched onto our jump field during transit. I believe it redirected us. You're saying it hijacked our path? Rhea asked via hololink from the Ardent. Yes, Kayla replied. The original trajectory should have placed us near the Andoros jump gate network. Instead, we were redirected to a system with no known star chart entry and no exit vector. Captain Merrick from the Horizon leaned forward. So what? We're prisoners now? Kayla met his gaze. I don't think it's that simple. I think it's a test. A test? Dax said. That spiral scanned us like we were a barcode on a soda can. More like a probe testing for intelligent response, Kayla said. It wasn't attacking, it was evaluating. Thorne crossed his arms. You're suggesting the anomaly is artificial. I'm saying, Kayla said carefully, that something ancient and intelligent seeded this region with anchors. Gateways, maybe. And now that we've activated one, something on the other side is responding. Rhea's image flickered. We need to leave, regroup, maybe return to Erebus. We can't, Elena said. The drive field's unstable. If we jump now, we could scatter ourselves across sectors. Merrick's voice dropped. Then we're stuck. Thorne looked at the hologram. Then we need to find out what's calling to us, and why. Later that night, Kayla sat alone in Lab Deck 3, reviewing the pulse telemetry. She had overlaid the rift pulse's frequency pattern atop the spiral's recorded echo. The alignment was exact, but more than that, it resembled something else. Language. Not one with letters or grammar, but the pulses, the frequency shifts, the gravitational tremors, they followed the same kind of patterns she'd studied in xenolinguistic simulations. A form of mathematical syntax. An intelligence speaking not in words, but in space-time itself. She tapped into the archives and began feeding the patterns into the ship's AI assistant. The results startled her. Pattern match, 84%, class navigational architecture. She blinked. Architecture, she zoomed in, isolated the central loop, and saw it. A map, or maybe a route. The next morning, Thorne joined Kayla on the bridge. She looked like she hadn't slept. I think it's a corridor, she said before he could even ask. The pulse, the spiral, the echo, they're part of a larger system. A hyperspace corridor built by something that predates known galactic civilization. Thorne stared at her. The Astral-born. Kayla hesitated. That's a legend, but this is proof of something bigger. Maybe they were real, maybe not, but someone built these pathways, and I think they're still functional. Dax entered, holding a data pad. You'll want to see this. He tapped it, projecting a new scan, a distant object near the edge of the system, faint, dark, and slowly drifting. A station? Thorne asked. Could be, Dax said. Or a relay, but it's dead. No signals, no power. Yet it's made from the same exotic composite as the spiral rock. This thing's older than Earth's moon. Then it's our next stop, Thorne said. Elena raised an eyebrow. You sure that's wise? We're playing catch with ghosts. Thorne looked out at the stars. No, we're answering an invitation. 3 hours later, the fleet repositioned to approach the drifting structure. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and shaped like an inverted pyramid, rotating ever so slightly, its surface scored by time and micrometeor impacts. Kayla stared at it through the viewport. No entrances, no hatches, but look. Along its surface, faint etchings glowed, barely visible in the starlight, the same spiral, repeated in concentric rings. Dax muttered, Well, that's not ominous at all. Elena's hand hovered over the controls. So, Captain, do we knock? Thorne stared at the screen. No, he said, we wait. It already knows we're here. Chapter 5. The Black Star. The drifting structure loomed silently before the Pathfinder, its pyramid-like shape casting faint shadows across space. No lights blinked, no signals were sent. Yet the spiral etchings that lined its surface pulsed faintly, reacting to the fleet's presence, as though something inside had stirred after eons of sleep. Captain Thorne stood at the main viewport, his jaw tight. "We've scanned every micron of it," said Kayla Wynne, eyes locked on her sensor array. "No entry points, no power signatures, but the core, it's dense. Too dense." Dax Rourke leaned forward, arms crossed. "Dense like a singularity?" Kayla nodded. "Exactly. The structure is built around a contained gravitational mass. That shouldn't be possible with our physics, unless it's stabilized by something we don't understand." "You're telling me we're staring at a black hole? In a building?" Elena Voss said. "A black star," Kayla corrected softly. "A singularity that didn't collapse. More like it was captured." Thorne turned from the window. "Captured by what?" "Not what," Kayla said. "Who?" 3 hours later, a joint task team from all 3 ships convened aboard the ISS Pathfinder. Thorne chaired the meeting. Commander Rhea Navin from the Ardent and Captain Jonas Merrick from the Horizon attended via holographic relay. Every face in the room reflected the same mix of awe and unease. "We've confirmed the presence of a controlled gravity source inside the structure," Kayla said, gesturing to a rotating hologram of the artifact. "And we've confirmed the spiral glyphs are harmonizing with the energy signature from the hyperspace echo." "What does that mean for us?" Rhea asked. "It means," Kayla said, "we're standing next to a node in a much larger network, possibly a transit system." "A worm gate?" Merrick asked. "Maybe. But if so, it's dormant. And ancient." Dax added, "It's not a jump gate in any form we understand. No rings, no stabilizers, no emitters, just mass, power, and geometry." "What do you mean?" Thorne asked. Kayla took a breath. "The structure isn't just a shell around the black star. It uses it. The spiral etchings are part of a control lattice. I think the gravity well is part of its operating system." Elena blinked. "You're saying it thinks?" Kayla hesitated. "I'm saying it responds." As if on cue, the lights flickered. A low hum pulsed through the Pathfinder's hull. Thorne looked up sharply. "What was that?" Shin called out from his console. "Power flux! External source! It's coming from the artifact!" Kayla's screen lit up, energy field stabilizing around the singularity. It's emitting a controlled wave, like a heartbeat. The holographic projection of the structure began to change. At its core, a spiral of energy began to swirl. Not random. Patterned. Deliberate. "It's opening." Kayla said quietly. "Opening what?" Dax asked. "A window," she whispered. Outside, space twisted. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic. No wormhole burst into view, no thunderous sound filled the void. Instead, just off the nose of the Pathfinder, space shimmered, like heat above asphalt. A distortion in the fabric of reality. Then a perfect black circle formed. It wasn't large, maybe 500 meters across, but its edges were impossibly smooth, and its interior showed nothing. No stars, no light, just depth. "Jump anomaly forming," Elena confirmed. "It's not using hyperspace, it's something else." Kayla was wide-eyed. "It's an artificial singularity." Thorne stepped forward. "To where?" "I don't know," she said, "but it's stable, and it's waiting." "Like a doorway," Dax added. "Exactly." Merrick's voice came over the channel. "Captain Thorne, what's your call?" Thorne stared at the black circle. "We didn't come all this way to stop at the threshold," he said. "Agreed," Rhea added. "Then let's find out where it leads," Thorne said. "Elena, prepare the Pathfinder for controlled approach. Ardent and Horizon maintain formation. We jump together." The fleet aligned with the rift. Its surface rippled slightly, as if aware of their intent. Inside the Pathfinder, the crew secured all systems, locked down every loose item, and braced for the unknown. "Final system check," Elena called. "All green," Dax replied. Kayla's hands hovered over her scanner. "Telemetry active, mapping everything." "Take us in," Thorne said. The Pathfinder eased forward. As they crossed the threshold, the view outside turned pitch black. Every sensor flickered. Time dilated, not in perception but in measurement. For a moment, the crew felt unmade, as if they were scattered across 1,000 versions of themselves, watching this moment from alternate angles. Then they emerged. The stars outside were gone. No planets, no gas clouds, no galactic arms, just darkness, and one massive object in the distance, a dead star, collapsed into itself, with an accretion disk barely visible. Its gravity lens warped the starlight behind it, an obsidian eye staring back at them. "Where the hell are we?" Dax asked. Kayla scanned her console. "We're in intergalactic space, between galaxies, no star systems for millions of kilometers." "Why here?" Thorne asked. Kayla stared at the swirling singularity ahead. "Because this is where it began." As the Pathfinder and its sister ships drifted closer, they saw something no human had ever recorded, a structure wrapped around the black star. It resembled an enormous ring, hundreds of kilometers wide, floating just outside the accretion disk. Covered in the same spiral etchings, it shimmered with ghostly light. "It's a gateway," Kayla said. "A true gate." "To where?" Elena asked. Kayla turned slowly, to wherever the Astralborn disappeared. Thorne stared at the alien construct, now bathed in a slow violet glow. "Then let's follow them." Chapter 6. The Void Beyond. The fleet hovered in silence. Suspended between galaxies, the black star before them pulsed faintly with gravitational waves, its invisible force bending the light of distant galaxies into arcs across the void. Around it, the massive alien structure, the ring, glowed with a spectral light, etched in symbols no one could translate. Captain Elias Thorne stood at the Pathfinder's command station, arms crossed. His voice, though calm, carried tension. "Tell me someone has eyes on what that thing actually does." Kayla Wynne stood across from him at the science terminal, still analyzing the architecture. The ring isn't spinning. It's cycling energy, slowly. But it's not generating a wormhole, and it's not acting like a transit hub. "So we didn't come out here just to sightsee?" Dax Rourke muttered, hunched over a secondary diagnostics panel. Kayla's expression was unreadable. "We came here because something sent us here." On the forward viewport, the ring loomed, silent, massive, and inert. The Ardent and Horizon maintained flanking positions, their navigation lights casting small reflections on the alien surface below. So far, no energy pulses, no distortions, no new spatial anomalies. The singularity at the center of the ring remained stable. And then, something changed. Kayla looked up. "It's responding." "What is?" Thorne asked. "The ring," she said. "It just emitted a directed gravity wave." "Toward us?" "No," she said, her fingers racing across the console. "It's targeting something else." The screen shifted. An object far ahead, small, faint, came into view. It was partially occluded by the accretion disk's lensing effect. "Is that," Elena began, leaning forward in her seat. Kayla's voice lowered. "A ship." The fleet repositioned as the Pathfinder moved in for a closer scan. The object was definitely a ship, though nothing human, Dominion, or even previously recorded in deep galactic archives. The vessel was long and spindled, its hull pitted and dark. Jagged protrusions extended from its rear, and spiraled fins along its spine matched the same design pattern as the Black Star ring. "Kayla, is that another Astralborn relic?" Thorne asked. "I think so," she said. "It's dead, but intact." Dax frowned. "You sure it's safe to approach?" "No," Kayla said. "But if that ring activated when we arrived, and it pinged this wreck, then either it's connected, or it's being called home." Thorne gave the order. "Prep the shuttles. We're going in." 20 minutes later, a 4-person team boarded a hardened shuttle and launched toward the derelict ship. Captain Thorne, Kayla, Dax, and Elena all went. Standard protocol on first contact excursions, but it felt personal this time. Too personal. As the shuttle drifted into the massive ship's shadow, the full scale of it became clear. The alien vessel was over 2 kilometers long. Its outer hull shimmered faintly, not from light, but from active shielding, long dormant and failing. "Elena, hold us steady," Thorne said. "Got it." Kayla scanned the surface. "There's a breach near the forward hull. We can enter through there." The moment the shuttle's maglock engaged with the alien hull, the temperature dropped. "Pressure stable," Dax said. "No internal atmosphere. Let's move." They entered in pairs. Inside, the ship was a tomb. Dark corridors lined with fractal patterns extended into the shadows. The walls were formed from a material unlike anything they'd seen, not metal, not ceramic. It felt alive. Smooth yet organic, with veins of soft blue light pulsing through its curves. "No bodies," Thorne noted. "No decay, just silence." Kayla's voice echoed softly. "This isn't a wreck, it's a remnant." Dax reached for a glowing node on the wall. "Don't touch anything," Kayla snapped. He pulled his hand back. "Right. Forgot. Alien-haunted ship. No button pressing." As they moved deeper into the hull, they found a central chamber, spherical, with concentric platforms suspended by curved pylons. At its heart was a core, fractured but intact. Kayla stared in awe. This is a data core." Dax moved beside her. "That's the main computer?" "Not just a computer. It's living." Thorne kept watch as Kayla connected her scanner to the fractured interface. The lights pulsed slowly, dim and dying. She ran translation software. At first nothing, then something shifted. A flicker, a voice, garbled, faint, but there. "Eye on. Watches, fracture, trace, response, incomplete." Kayla's blood chilled. "It's trying to talk." Dax stepped back. "That's not creepy at all." Kayla whispered, "I think it's an AI, a synthetic organic intelligence, what's left of it." Thorne knelt beside the core. What happened here? The lights flared, briefly. Dominion? Consumed, warned, others lost. Elena stepped forward. "Did it say Dominion?" Kayla nodded. "This ship was fleeing something, possibly warning others, possibly us." Thorne stood. "Can we recover it?" Kayla worked fast. "Partially. I can take fragments, enough to build a translation matrix." "Then do it," he said. "We need to know what happened." As Kayla downloaded the fragments, the room dimmed again. The last words whispered from the core. "Signal not complete, path broken. Return to gate. The void remembers." And then, silence. Back aboard the Pathfinder, the crew gathered for a briefing. Kayla stood before them with a projection of the alien vessel's final data. "This ship wasn't just old," she said. "It was one of the last." "One of the last what?" asked Commander Rhea Navin over comms. Kayla's expression was solemn. "One of the last astral-born, or at least one of their machines. The Dominion didn't just chase them, it consumed them. And this ship, this poor remnant, tried to escape. It failed." "So what was it doing out here?" Merrick asked from the horizon. Kayla turned to the star map. "It was trying to activate the Black Star ring, and it failed." Thorne folded his arms. "Until we showed up." Later that evening, Thorne stood in the Pathfinder's observatory, watching the ring pulse slowly in the distance. Kayla joined him. "We didn't come here by accident," she said. "No," Thorne agreed. "We followed the trail." Kayla looked out into the void, and now it's watching us. Chapter 7. Alien Silence. The world was dead. At least that was the conclusion after hours of scanning, mapping, and cross-referencing data. Planet 8KX, a rogue terrestrial body orbiting a decaying binary star just beyond the Black Star ring, appeared lush on the surface, forests, rivers, even a stable magnetosphere. But there were no EM signals, no satellites, no cities, not even fire pits or basic tools. Nothing sentient, nothing living. But signs of life once were there. The Pathfinder's command deck was bathed in cold light as Kayla Wynne outlined her findings to Captain Thorne. Judging from orbital decay, the planet's age is just under 4 billion years. Atmosphere's breathable, vegetation is photosynthetic, gravity 0.97 grams. "Which makes it perfect for life," Thorne said. Kayla nodded grimly. "And that's the problem. It was perfect." She brought up the surface scans. Beneath the forest canopy, hidden beneath layers of soil and ash, were strange geometries, unnatural depressions, collapsed stone corridors, melted ruins. "Cities," Thorne murmured. Kayla's voice was quiet. "Wiped out, thousands of years ago, maybe more. There are even signs of plasma scoring, high-energy beam strikes." Thorne's jaw tightened. It wasn't a war, it was a purge. The next day, a landing team descended from the Pathfinder aboard Shuttle 12. Elena piloted. Kayla took lead. Dax came along with 2 exospecialists from the horizon, Lieutenant Juno Lark and Analyst Breck. Their landing site was on a massive plateau near what once looked like a canyon-spanning city. The buildings had collapsed long ago, and their skeletal remains had fused with the bedrock. Thorne's voice came over comms from orbit. "Standard perimeter. If anything moves that isn't your team, report it." "Copy that," Kayla said. As they stepped onto the surface, the silence was overwhelming. Not just the absence of noise, but the weight of it. There was no wind, no bird calls, no rustle of life, just the sunless sky and crumbling echoes of something ancient. The ruins were awe-inspiring. Structures with no right angles, towering arches fused into webbed ceilings, strange crystalline conduits lined with broken metal mesh. alien writing carved into stone like frozen rivers. Dax brushed his hand along one of the walls. You could live 100 lives and still never understand what this place was. Kayla crouched over a half-buried pedestal. She activated her scanner, running it across the etched surface. The symbols began to match partially with the astral-born core fragments recovered in Chapter 6. We're getting translation matches, she said. This was a place of learning, or maybe worship. Juno called out, Ma'am, we found something deeper down. Looks like a sealed chamber beneath the city's center. Kayla nodded. Let's open it. The chamber was a vault, circular, lined with smooth, curved metal walls. The entry hatch had been sealed with overlapping plates, which slid aside once Dax rewired the local power grid with a portable induction loop. The moment the door hissed open, the temperature dropped. Inside, the walls pulsed faintly. A sphere hovered in the center of the room, metallic, unblemished, and humming ever so slightly. Its size was no bigger than a basketball, yet every sensor screamed with interference the moment Kayla stepped close. Careful, Elena warned. Kayla raised her scanner. This isn't a weapon, she said slowly. It's a memory vault. Memory vault? Kayla nodded. Astralborn tech. If I'm right, this stores recorded consciousness ghosts. She reached into her bag and pulled out a quantum isolator, standard Dominion salvage gear. As she connected it to the sphere, the lights in the vault dimmed. Then the sphere pulsed. A voice filled the room. You are not of the flame. Everyone froze. The voice was layered, ancient, multitonal, more emotion than language. The watchers are gone. Silence holds the stars. Kayla whispered, it's speaking to us. The voice continued. We remembered light. We remembered death. We are gone, and you remain. Then it dimmed. Silence again. Elena stared at Kayla. What the hell was that? Kayla looked shaken. A message. Maybe a greeting. Maybe a warning. Dax muttered. Yeah, definitely felt like a warning. Back aboard the Pathfinder, Kayla replayed the audio again and again, running it through every Dominion and Coalition translation filter. Each time it came back the same, fragments of sorrow, silence, and one repeated phrase, the Dominion watches. Thorne sat beside her in the lab. You're sure that's what it said? Kayla nodded. It was the final recorded phrase. Same words from the derelict AI in the void. And we still don't know what it means. Kayla exhaled. It might not mean anything literal. The Astralborn used poetic structures in their recordings. The Dominion watches might not mean they were literally observed. It could be metaphor, like saying the universe sees you, or death follows you. Thorne rubbed his jaw. Or maybe it means exactly what it says. Maybe the Dominion didn't rise independently. Maybe it's what's left of them. Kayla looked up slowly. You think the Dominion is Astralborn? Or corrupted by them, Thorne said. They sat in silence, staring at the memory sphere, now dim and cold. That night, the fleet maintained low orbit above the dead world. Security teams doubled their rotations. Crew members spoke in whispers, unnerved by the quiet planet below. Kayla stood in her quarters, listening to the memory sphere's final transmission on a loop. We are gone. And you remain. It wasn't just sorrow. It was a passing of the torch. On the bridge, Thorne stared into the void, deep in thought. The stars beyond the black star pulsed faintly. No alarms had gone off. No ships had appeared. But he knew. Something was coming. And it wasn't friendly. Chapter 8. Ghost World. The crew of the Pathfinder floated over a planet that had once been alive. Below them, the ruins of a vast civilization sprawled across continents. Cities swallowed by vines, bridges collapsed into rivers, monoliths etched with alien glyphs now broken and silent. From orbit, it looked beautiful, peaceful, but beauty meant nothing in the face of extinction. Captain Elias Thorne stood at the center of the command deck, arms folded tightly across his chest. The memory sphere retrieved from the last world still haunted him. Its voice, mournful and fractured, echoed in his thoughts. We are gone, and you remain. Now they hovered over another world just like it. Another vanished civilization, another dead culture, another ghost. We're detecting strong substructure density below the surface, Kayla said, her voice steady but thin. On her console, a topographic projection of the southern continent glowed. Beneath the jungle canopy, dense hexagonal arrangements formed the outlines of buried cities. More advanced than the previous planet, more symmetrical. as though whatever had lived here had taken order and design to an art form. No power signatures? Thorne asked. Kayla shook her head. None. Not even decay heat. This place has been dead for thousands of years, maybe longer. Elena Voss, hovering nearby, leaned in. So, what's the play? Another dig mission. Thorne was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We're not going to wait for whatever's watching us to make the next move. We're going down." 3 shuttles descended. Falcon 1, piloted by Elena, carried Thorne, Kayla and Dax. Ardent's shuttle brought Commander Rhea Navin and her XO. The Horizons carried a mix of exobiologists, historians, and one nervous xenopsychologist who kept muttering about dream patterns and symbolic residue. They touched down near a vast obsidian structure, half buried in sand and plant growth, but still standing. It resembled a cathedral, though nothing human in shape. The walls sloped inward like folded wings, and every visible surface was covered in looping spirals and interlocking fractals. Dax muttered as he stepped out onto the soil. "Why is it always abandoned temples? Couldn't these people have left behind, I don't know, a gift shop?" Kayla ignored him and started scanning the perimeter. Elena stood beside Thorne, helmet sealed, voice low. "I've got a bad feeling about this, Captain." "You always say that," Thorne replied, "and I'm usually right." The interior of the structure was colder than expected. The floor shimmered slightly, not from light, but from embedded energy coils buried beneath layers of dust. Symbols glowed faintly as the team passed them, reacting to their presence. Not hostile. Curious. Kayla's scanner began chirping. Residual data echoes, low-frequency psychic residue. Thorne glanced at her. "Psychic?" Kayla shrugged. "It's not literal thought. More like sensory impressions left by highly advanced minds, similar to what we saw with the memory sphere. But this is ambient. It's everywhere." Rhea from the Ardent ran her gloved hand over the nearest wall. "It feels like walking through someone else's dream." They reached the central chamber within 20 minutes. At its heart was a strange raised platform surrounded by concentric circular pathways and seats, 30 in total, evenly spaced and all facing inward. Each was slightly different in shape and size, built for something humanoid but not human. Kayla stepped into the center. This was ceremonial, or educational, possibly both. Dax circled the platform, or a trial chamber. "What makes you say that?" Thorne asked. "Because this feels like judgment," he said. "Look around. It's not a place to learn. It's a place to be seen." Kayla didn't argue. She was staring at the platform, eyes locked on a small square socket at its base. It pulsed faintly. A match to the memory sphere they'd brought back. Without asking permission, she withdrew it from her pack. It pulsed in reply. The moment Kylo inserted the sphere, the room activated. A wave of light rolled outward. The symbols on the walls shimmered. The seats lit up briefly, then dimmed. And then, like a curtain pulling back, a holographic figure appeared in the center of the chamber. It was not human. Tall, narrow-shouldered, skin made of interwoven energy threads. No mouth, no eyes. Just a shimmer where its face should be. It spoke in a voice that came from nowhere. "Witnesses from the flame." Kayla froze. The silence grows, the watchers fade. You seek the path, and yet you carry the fracture. Elena whispered, "What the hell is this?" The hologram raised one long finger toward the ceiling. Above them a star map formed, not of this galaxy, but of multiple galaxies. Arcs connected them, ancient paths now shattered. At their intersections, more spirals. Kayla stared, transfixed. These were the gate systems, she said, the wormways, a travel network that spanned entire galaxies. The hologram continued. The flame must choose, the echo must answer. Time bends. The path calls, enter or be undone. Then everything dimmed. The hologram collapsed. The sphere deactivated. Silence returned. Back aboard the Pathfinder, the teams debriefed for hours. No one had a complete theory. Some believed the hologram was an ancient astral-born AI. Others a recording. Still others said it wasn't real at all, just psychic residue triggered by the sphere. But Kayla was certain. It was a test. Thorne frowned. A test of what? She turned to him. Of whether we're ready to use the next gate. He leaned forward, voice firm. "Then where is it?" Kayla tapped her console. A new star map appeared. Among the shattered paths, one system pulsed faintly. "Here," she said. "It's deep in the void, past the edge of mapped interstellar space. There's no starlight there, no planets, just silence." "Another ghost world?" Dax asked. Kayla didn't smile. No, if I'm right, this one still has something living in it. That night, Thorne sat alone on the observation deck. He watched the dead world turn beneath them. So much beauty, so much silence. The stars seemed a little dimmer now, and somewhere beyond them something was waiting, watching. Chapter 9. Dark Signals. The blackness outside the viewport was more oppressive than usual. Even with the starscape surrounding the ISS Pathfinder, something about this particular sector of space felt colder, emptier. Commander Vega stood at the bridge, arms folded, watching the approaching object on the main display. It rotated slowly in the void, an enormous structure, clearly artificial. Jagged spires rose from its surface like the ribs of a long-dead beast. Pulsing blue lights flickered along its frame, dim and sporadic, like a dying heart. The Pathfinder's scans had picked up its weak power signature hours ago. "Status on the array?" Vega asked, her voice low. Lieutenant Orin frowned at his console. "It's not transmitting in any known language or frequency, but it's active. Intermittent bursts. And the structure is huge, almost 5 kilometers across." "Is it a relay?" Vega asked. "Looks like it, but there's no sign of a network. It's isolated," Orin paused. "And we're picking up something else. Low-frequency signals, repeating patterns, almost like music." "Put it on audio," Vega ordered. The bridge fell silent as the sound filled the air. It was rhythmic, almost hypnotic, 4 tones in a rising scale, followed by static and silence. Then it would repeat, again and again. It was eerie, like a broken melody drifting through space. "Prep and away team," Vega said. "We need to see it up close." The array. Interior Lieutenant Aya Wren floated down the corridor, her boots barely making contact with the floor. The structure was dark, lit only by the away team's helmet lights and the occasional flicker of ancient power conduits along the walls. She swept her light across the walls, revealing alien symbols etched in rows like circuitry. "This thing is ancient," said Dr. Caleb Drax, scanning the symbols with his handheld unit. "But it's still running on reserve power. That means there's a control center somewhere nearby." "I don't like this," muttered Ensign Marlowe. "Everything about this place feels wrong." "Agreed," Aya said, "but we're here for answers." The team reached a central chamber, domed with a large pedestal in the center. Surrounding it were semi-transparent walls lined with alien text and holographic diagrams. Suddenly the chamber pulsed. Lights ignited around the pedestal and a voice began to whisper, fragmented and distorted. They came from the void, devourers, consume, warning, sealed. Aya tapped her comms. "Commander, we've activated something. It's a message, partially corrupted, but it mentions a threat, something that destroyed whoever built this place." Back on the bridge, Vega listened closely. Did it say what they were? No, only a word, devourers. Pathfinder Medical Bay Dr. Kira Monroe leaned over a crewman thrashing on the biobed. "Another one?" she asked, her face tight with concern. Lieutenant Tan nodded. "That's the third this cycle. He said he saw shadows crawling through the walls of his cabin." Kira checked his vitals. "Brainwave activity is spiking, same pattern as the others." She glanced at the monitor. There was a strange low-frequency signature underlying all the neural data, one that hadn't been present before they approached the array. "Could this be from the station?" she asked quietly. "It's broadcasting something, subtle. Not designed to communicate, maybe, but to influence." Bridge, later. As the away team returned, the bridge was under subdued lighting. The signal from the array had begun changing. The tone had shifted, rising in pitch and frequency, like something waking up. Lieutenant Orin spoke up. "Commander, the signal isn't random anymore. It's targeting us." "What do you mean?" "I mean the frequency is synchronizing with our internal comms systems. It's matching them, adapting." Vega's jaw tightened. "Shut it down, kill external receivers." "We can't. It's coming through the hull, resonating through the structure itself." On screen, the array glowed slightly brighter. Energy readings were rising. Array, final discovery. Back on the array, Dr. Drax ran a translation on the central console. The interface had responded to their presence, rewriting symbols into rudimentary pictographs. One showed a spiral galaxy surrounded by dark streaks. Another depicted a world engulfed in fire. Then came the final sequence, a hand reaching out from a sphere, emitting a ripple of light, then darkness falling over the diagram. "It's not just a message," Drax said slowly. "It's a beacon." Aya stepped back. "You mean it called something?" Drax nodded, "or woke it up." Pathfinder final scene. Lights dimmed across the Pathfinder as power fluctuations surged through its systems. Alarms chirped, systems flickered on and off. Commander Vega stared at the screen. "Contact all ships," she said. "Tell them to fall back from the array. I don't care what it takes. Shut down every receiver, every amplifier. Kill the signal." As the crew moved to comply, the signal echoed once more through the speakers. "We are awake." The chapter ends with the signal ceasing, replaced by absolute silence, deeper than space itself. And then, movement. Something large, impossibly large, drifted on the edge of long-range scans. And it was coming. Chapter 10, The Shape in the Dark. The hum of the Pathfinder's engines was drowned out by the silence, an unnerving stillness that settled across the fleet like a thick fog. Commander Vega stared at the long-range display. The object, no, the presence on the edge of the scans hadn't moved since it first appeared, but it hadn't vanished either. "Is it a ship?" she asked, her voice low, almost hesitant. "No clear signature," replied Orin. "No heat trail, no drive plume, no emissions at all, but it's there, just sitting in the dark." The display showed a blurry silhouette, impossibly massive, easily dwarfing even the largest vessel in their fleet. Jagged, angular, asymmetrical. It didn't match any known ship architecture. It didn't match anything at all. "Could it be a natural body?" asked Dr. Ilara Kess from the science bay. "Not likely," Orin replied. "Its mass distribution isn't spherical or consistent. There are straight edges, manufactured geometry, and it's in perfect synchronization with the signal frequency we detected." "So it's watching us," Vega murmured. "No, Commander," Ilara said. "It's listening." On board the Dauntless, Vanguard frigate, Lieutenant Caro Lennox sat in the dim light of the weapons control bay, watching over the pulse cannon arrays. The Pathfinder had ordered all ships to power down active scans and limit electromagnetic signatures, but Caro kept one screen open. There it was, the silhouette, closer now. "Sir," he whispered into his comm, "it's moved. That thing is closer than it was 10 minutes ago." His commanding officer's voice crackled through. "We see it. Hold position. If we fire, we might provoke it." "Sir, respectfully, if it's that close, it already knows we're here." He was right. Pathfinder, briefing room. Captain Vega sat with the senior officers. Ilara stood by the holographic display, looping the sequence from the alien array, the spiral galaxy, the light ripple, and the consuming darkness. "This isn't just art," she said. "This was a record. The signal wasn't only a warning, it was a map." She flicked to the next image, coordinates layered in strange notation. "I think it was pointing us toward a safe system, a refuge." "We already activated the beacon," Vega said. That thing out there, maybe it's what they warned us about." Ilara nodded grimly. "Then our only option is to run." Fleet movement. Hyperspace route planning. The fleet's navigation AI calculated possible escape vectors. Only one stable corridor existed, a narrow path threaded between two dark energy distortions leading to a system labeled only as Sector Zeta 4 on legacy star charts. "It's a risk," said Navigation Chief Malik. "We don't have full data on what's waiting there." "We do know what's waiting here," Vega said, pointing toward the slowly advancing shadow. "Prepare the jump. Quietly, no flash emissions. We move in 90 minutes." The warning before the fleet could prepare for departure, the signal returned. This time it was no longer fragmented, it was deliberate. "You are not alone. Your trespass echoes." The voice was mechanical but layered, like a chorus of hundreds speaking at once. The bridge crew froze as the signal hijacked every screen, every interface, every speaker. "The Watcher has stirred. The slumber ends. The silence is broken." Commander Vega stood slowly, facing the display. "Get us out of here, now." But as the countdown to jump initiation began, Orin's console lit up in red. "Commander, we're being scanned hard. From the object? No, beneath us. From the depths." A new object appeared, directly under the Pathfinder's fleet. It hadn't been cloaked. It hadn't arrived. It had always been there, embedded within the subspace layer beneath the system. Now it was rising. A black mass, crusted with alien plating and impossible angles, emerged silently, unfurling like a great metal flower. It dwarfed the Pathfinder, spanning 10 kilometers across. Lights flared to life along its body, deep red and purple veins of energy that pulsed in time with the original beacon signal. "What is that?" whispered Ilara. No one had an answer. "The chase begins." Vega stood. Initiate fleet-wide jump. Priority signal, Sector Zeta 4 now. All ships responding, said Orin. Jump sequence locked in. But the dark shape pulsed once, and the stars bent. Shockwaves of gravity erupted outward, sending ships reeling. The hyperspace window destabilized. Stabilizers failing, shouted Malik. We won't hold together, someone else cried out. But the Pathfinder's systems surged, unexpectedly boosted by the alien tablet integrated weeks ago during earlier discoveries. It restabilized the window with unfamiliar algorithms, Archivian code. Window reformed, shouted Orin, punching through. The jump one by one, the fleet's ships vanished into the corridor, twisting and jerking through the narrow hyperspace path. The black vessel made no attempt to follow, but it did one final thing. As the Pathfinder passed through the breach, the signal echoed one last time. Run far, little sparks. The dark remembers. And then the fleet was gone. Zeta 4 system arrival. The Pathfinder emerged into a calm, pale blue star system. Multiple rocky worlds, one lush oceanic planet, and a deep space ring structure encircling the third moon. Scans clear, said Elara. No signals, no threats, just quiet. Too quiet? Asked Caro Lennox, joining from the Dauntless on encrypted comms. Maybe, Vega replied, but I'll take silence over whatever that was. She turned toward the observation window. The shadow of the Watcher still burned in her mind. We have time. Let's use it wisely. Closing scene. In the deep space ring, something ancient stirred. Not a weapon, not a threat, but a choice. It had seen the fleet, it had marked the signal trail, and it waited, not as an enemy, but as a test. The silence was not peace, it was preparation. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the stars. If you enjoyed this audiobook, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new adventure. Explore more science fiction stories right here on Nebula Narratives.